Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood. Hello, I'm Lucas Southworth.
And I'm John Bishop.
And welcome to the Chat.
The only podcast brave enough to ask the question.
Hey, what's up with planes?
Oh, we zagged on them. Alright, what's up with planes? We watched Planes. I mean, you watched it for the first time, which is more significant, but I rewatched it, and boy howdy was it a trip both times.
Man.
Maybe even all 3 times. I don't know how many times I've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's a weird one, folks. It's a weird un.
Yeah, really
That
is.
was actually something I wanted to ask.
What was your favorite part of that movie?
My favorite part of the movie?
Yeah, just right off the bat.
Well, my favorite part of the movie was probably our good pal Franz. I'm gonna be 100% honest.
I was hoping for it. And that's going to bring us to our fun fact of the day. Franz is a 1954 Taylor Aero car, which really exists. Like, for real.
John, I think we have...
That's crazy.
I really think we probably have to assume that nobody listening to us has seen the movie Planes.
I mean, that is a fair assumption. All right. So, did you like that smooth transition? I just really want... Okay, so Franz...
Yes.
Okay, so Planes. All right, so Planes.
Planes, Franz, go. Lay it out for us, John. Do it. You got it.
So in the movie Planes, there's a character named Franz. This character named Franz is an aero car, also known as a car that is a plane. It is a plane car, plane, hybrid plane car.
It's a car that's a plane. Sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just a little cart, and he has like wings, but they can like retract or like fold down. And let me tell you, this character is in the movie a total of 2 scenes for, what would you say, like 2 minutes total, if that?
I'd give him a good 3 or 4, because like they were weirdly long scenes.
Okay, but like, man.
Well, here's the thing.
He came in...
Franz is in it for 2 minutes. But von Fliegenhosen is in it for another 2 minutes.
That is something about Franz we gotta get into.
Did I forget to mention that he has DID? Because he's got DID.
Gosh, he sure does. He has distinctive personalities for when he's a car and for when he's a plane. And they don't particularly like each other.
For some reason, one of them's this like shy, like happy little guy who just is a real big fan of our protagonist, and the other one's just this like really deep voiced, kind of aggressive guy. Like, it's really weird. It's really weird, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's gonna go ahead and take us into the... It can't be that hard to come up with a better name than the wiki quote of the day. This one comes to us from https://disney.fandom.com/wiki/Franz. And I'm sorry, I am on the wrong wiki. I have too many of them open. It's actually from https://worldofcarsdriving.fandom.com/wiki/Franz.
Okay.
If you look under the bio section, you all know how much I love the bios that they give these lovely mechanical characters. And let's see here. He has 2 for some reason. Oh, it's 1 for each. Okay, I just realized that. So this one's going to be von Fliegenhosen's bio. It's
Okay.
with a flip of his doors, Franz Wings and his airborne alter ego, von Fliegenhosen, emerge, turning the superfan into a brash, brazen, and fearless Uberfan. Von Fliegenhosen looks down on his spineless four-wheeled counterpart. I want to go back to spineless real quick because I'm not just saying that weird. They have it written out and in quotation marks spelled Spineless. So they've written in the German accent for us,
He's spineless.
just in case we weren't sure about it. Yes.
You don't seem to have realized what you have just pointed out, and that's that cars have spines.
That's fair. Yeah.
Or maybe.
Real quick, I'll finish the bio, but we'll get back into
Okay.
that. And his warring personalities don't see eye to eye on anything except the source of their inspiration, Dusty Crophopper.
Okay. So Uber fan makes me uncomfortable. Like, also, this movie came out well before Uber was like a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, and Uber's a term.
Yep.
But that does imply that if they don't have spines, they at least know what spines are, huh?
Or maybe only planes have spines.
Okay.
And that's why he doesn't like his spineless friend.
No, John, come on, say it right.
Spineless.
It's like how you smear a bagel, you know?
Alright, so on https colon / disneyplanes.fandom.com /wiki / Franz, he says his voice it says where, okay, turning into a plane where his voice gets lower and he appears to have more strength. I didn't know that he appeared to have more strength, but apparently that was what they were going for.
I'm not sure where they got that implication, Johnny. I couldn't tell you. It's not like he has feet. He has
Maybe his voice has more strength?
I mean, he can fly. That's pretty strong.
I guess.
One last bit from the wiki, and this will be probably not the last, but under the trivia section, which honestly, if I had seen this while I was looking, it would have been the probably wiki quote of the day, better quote. But it says, because Franz has a German voice actor, he sounds like Professor Zundap, which I don't know. I like that they took the time to write out a bullet point in the trivia section just to say, oh, these two characters both have German accents. That's their trivia, basically. Oh, he sounds like that guy from Cars 2.
Okay, so Franz, we've talked about Franz for the entire time of this.
Yeah, but we haven't said much. Let's be honest.
But do we ever say much?
That's fair enough. Either way, we'll figure it out. We should talk about, characters who are in the movie for more than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
At some point.
Planes. General synopsis.
Yeah, he wants to be a racing plane, and then he's a racing plane, and he's the best in the world. After, training for 2 days.
Yeah, he trains for 2 days, and also, gets castrated, I guess, which we can go into that later.
Oh, we certainly will. He's very discriminated against.
So,
I guess is a
on account of being not built for racing. It's weird. It's real weird.
Yeah, he's if you didn't guess from his name, Dusty Crophopper, he is a crop duster. He's not like a racing plane. But no, and it's not like he did this incredible comeback from the end of the race. He was leading most of the race. There was not very much.
He wasn't leading until the second leg of the race. Because in the first one, he got cold.
Yeah, and there were things in several legs of the race that caused him to not do as well, but it was never I've got to overcome my own abilities. It was oh, this jerk villain has knocked off my radio and made me go missing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Or, and
they allowed me to continue the race with a severe delay.
which they said that they knew his radio had been tampered with. So
Yep,
why'd they still penalize him?
because they can't just assume he would have gotten there first. They had no time to go off of. Fun fact of the day number 2. That's right, it's 2 of them.
Oh man, two.
Voice actress for one of the characters is the voice actress is Priyanka Chopra, and she's married to Nick Jonas.
Oh, was she the love interest for Dusto?
She was Ishani. I don't know if I could call Ishani the love interest. Honestly, I feel like Dottie was a better love interest.
Well, I mean, the movie was clearly implying that Dusty had feelings for one of them. They certainly did nothing with that little subplot,
Yeah.
besides have them become vague friends. But
After betrayal.
yeah, which he immediately forgives her for. This isn't a great movie, folks. I'll come out and say that.
What are you talking about? It got a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Really?
Yep.
That is higher than I'd expect, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we talk about, I feel like fairly regularly, like we're not the biggest fans of the Cars movies, but like they're pretty decent movies. Like even Cars 2, while not being like a great movie, it's like, I don't know, a decent, good movie. This was not that, I'll say outright.
You know what? I'm going to have to disagree with you. I would say that this is on par with Cars 2.
Nah, man, Cars 2 is better than this. Like, again, Cars 2 is not a great movie, but this is not a good movie.
See, I don't know if it's that you think Cars 2 is better than I think Cars 2 is, or if you think Planes is worse than I think Planes is. Because it's one of the two of those. Maybe a mix of both. Can we talk about the fact that the Planes poster features far more prominently the villain of the story than the hero? Okay, so do you have a picture of Planes poster pulled up?
No, but I will certainly get one.
Okay, so for some reason, this poster predominantly features the villain of the story, and like he is above front and center, and he's above Dusty Crophopper, the protagonist. I don't get it.
He certainly is, huh?
He's a lot more of that poster than the main character.
Like he's certainly the cooler plane. So maybe they just wanted to be like, we have cool planes and not just crop dusters in our plane movie.
That's just weird. It's real weird. Okay, so back to how this is a bad movie. What parts did you think were particularly bad?
I mean, just like I was saying, like the character, he does well the entire time. He doesn't have much he has to overcome besides his fear of heights, which, gosh, we'll get into the fact that this plane has a fear of heights.
Wait, let's just talk about that right now.
Yeah, let's go
He's
ahead.
He's got a fear of heights.
Yeah, Dusty Crophopper's scared of heights.
Which for most of the movie is a constant problem in regards to him racing. And like they solve it at the very end, I guess. Spoiler alert. But like also it makes no sense that he's as good of a racer as he is. It makes no sense.
Like it's established right at the beginning that the fastest way to fly is to fly really high up in the sky and like dive at the end and stuff. But Dusty's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fly really low to the ground. And he like still, it doesn't hinder him until the last bit of the race where he has to catch up to the leader. And he's like, okay, I'll go up there. And like he's scared, but he just does it. And he's like, okay, this is cool. I'm up here now.
Also, the villain is a racing plane who is just very, very much faster. He is faster than Dusty, like, definitively. And for some reason, that doesn't factor in to this guy actually winning. Because Dusty keeps constantly catching up for no reason. They explain it once. There's one leg of the race where they're like, okay, so this one is through this rough, low area, or you're disqualified if you go too high. So that's really going to give this crop duster an advantage. That's the one time they ever say that he would have like an advantage for that. But he is constantly lower to the ground and slower and wasting more fuel and all these things. And it's not really a problem.
Yeah, and like it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not just the villain who's a racing plane. He's up against a field of I think 12 other racing planes that were designed to go fast and win races, and like I get they were doing a metaphor about like never giving up and like overcoming circumstances, but like he's a crop dusting plane. How can he do that? And like we're saying,
Because he wanted to really hard, and because I guess because racism bad.
yeah, and like if they had
Like
given
that
him,
was the theme of the movie. That was the entire theme of the movie. It feels like if you
yeah,
try really hard, then you can do whatever you want, no matter what is in your way. It felt super cheap.
yeah, that's my one of my biggest issues with it. And like if they had given him some like he has technique unlike anyone else that is so good, or like he's just so much smarter about like the way he's racing, but like no, he just wants to win the most.
You know that you'd think that they would do that, but no. They constantly point out how sloppy his turns
Yeah,
are. Constantly. They point out that he's got sloppy turns, that he isn't a very professional racer, and that like nothing about his technique is actually special or good. He just wants it really badly. And because he's the hero, he
yeah,
wins.
or even if they had made his like training bit with Skipper the warplane, like if they had implied like, oh, he's done this for months and months and months. But no, as far as I could tell, it was like a week tops, very generously, that he trained to become a racer.
Yeah. And he was trained by a guy who hadn't flown
Yeah,
in years.
yeah,
From our calculations, like, I don't know, 50 years.
yeah. 50 years on the low end.
This guy hasn't flown since, like, he was 2 years old. Which also, what?
It's
Oh
a
boy.
baffling little movie. And going back to the fact that the main point, the main like metaphor is like in part about racism and at the very least uh prejudice,
Prejudice.
thank you. The person they had voicing Dusty Crophopper is Dane Cook, and that's who they made our hero in this story about overcoming prejudice, maybe racism, at again, very least prejudice. And like that just seems
Yeah.
like a bad choice, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying Dane Cook's like a racist or anything, because I don't know. I don't know the guy. I'm just saying he's a very successful white dude who probably hasn't ever had to really deal with that at all. And this is coming
Yeah,
from other white dudes who haven't really had to deal with that. Like,
yeah,
we get it. Like, you wanted a big name, but don't make just some generic white dude your racism metaphor.
yeah,
There are so
yeah.
many better ways to have done that. Okay. Can we talk about the other unfortunate things in this film, such as
I would love to.
like, and I'm still like on the vein of like prejudice and like racisms. They made his friend a luchador,
They did.
and
They most
the
certainly did.
luchador was a lot of stereotypes, and he was seeking a French Canadian woman who was a lot of stereotypes. Weirdly enough, she wasn't Canadian stereotypes. She was just French stereotypes.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting. Also, I want to point out she was voiced by
Julia Louis Dreyfus.
yeah, who is not French nor Canadian.
Yep.
Which like there isn't a point there really, but like I don't know, hire a French person.
Hire a French person or a Canadian person,
Yeah.
but like, come on. Ugh. I mean, okay, so those are bad enough. They were offensive stereotypes, uh, and then they go for the English plane. And something that really amuses me is I could tell it was John Cleese, but you heard this English plane, and your only reaction was, "This is the most fake British I've ever heard."
I don't know what...
They don't say matey. What is this nonsense? This is the most like caricature Englishman I've ever heard, and it's an actual Englishman.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that. Like, he's...
Rightio, good matey.
He said...
That's what was going on.
He said matey. Like he was a pirate.
Like he was parodying his own accent.
Like what I said 2 seconds after he started talking was, well, they might as well have hired me to do this.
Yep. That is what you said, and it was very funny because I was thinking the entire time we talked about it, which was only like 20, 30 seconds, like, boy howdy, this is an Englishman. I wonder if Lucas... Nope, he doesn't. I don't think he gets it. I don't think he knows this. Hey, Lucas, this guy's actually English.
The fact that John Cleese was in this movie at all is baffling. But
the fact that, like, so many big names. Dan Cook, Stacy Keach, Terry Hatcher, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, John Cleese, Cedric the Entertainer, Val Kilmer.
Who was Val Kilmer? What?
Bravo, I guess?
Who is Bravo? What?
I have no idea.
Bravo?
Probably one of the planes that oh shoot, what were the names? The Navy members.
Oh, the Jolly something. Or the Navy. Jolly Wrenches or something.
Yeah, Jolly Wrenches.
Jolly Wrenches. Yeah, there are two fighter planes who are barely in the movie. Yeah, he's in the movie for like a minute.
Okay, so you know...
Right? Am I crazy?
No, yeah, you're right. So also Sinbad's in it, which is weird. And Gabriel Iglesias. Do you want to know who Gabriel Iglesias voices?
Yes, because I have no idea.
The twins. Ned and Zed.
He is both of the twins.
He is both of the twins.
Why? Get two actors. This isn't the Parent Trap. You don't need them to... You don't have to digitally reproduce them. You're already just two actors. What?
So this is gonna like be another tangent because that's what our show has devolved into for the past few episodes. There's just 1,000 tangents. Okay, so Gabriel Iglesias voices Ned and Zed, the twins, who at one point in the movie, someone said, rumor has it that they used to be one plane.
Oh yeah, this was going to be like a big talking point for me in this. Like,
they were one plane?
I think they even said they were born either as one plane or like I remember something about them being joined at the wing when they were born.
I think what they said was just something along, like, this is a paraphrase, but like, I think the words were similar to, rumor has it they were born one plane and they separated.
Oh my gosh. Like,
not that they were born connected, that they used to be one plane and then like asexually divided into being two different entities.
I mean, even the thought that they were in fact born as conjoined twins is massively bonkers.
Lucas,
so
the fact that they were definitely born is still pretty bonkers.
Yeah, and
this movie confirms birth. Like, for sure, birth happens.
But also, Franz says only 6 of us were ever made.
Yeah. 6 of them were made, and these twins were born. But also they were one thing.
Oh man, how have I not seen planes and done this podcast for 15 episodes, man?
Alright, tangent. You know how we saw the name Mustang Burger at some point? And then we thought, that's gotta be a pun. The guy's name is Brent Musburger, so they just added Tang, so it's Mustang. So, like, that's kind of a stretch even for them.
Yeah, and while we're talking about weird things, Colin Cowherd, who is like a sportscaster, plays a blimp in this movie. If you know who Colin Cowherd is, that's weird.
A blimp
That's it.
that has a nose. He has a nose,
Yeah, he
Lucas.
does have a nose.
Do you know how few?
No one else has a nose.
Yeah, like almost no one has a nose, and this character has a nose. And the reason I bring this up is because I saw this character's face, and I was disturbed. I was just bothered. And then I like took a few seconds, like, what is wrong with this face in particular? And it's the nose. The nose is just terrifying. And I realize that it's a simpler face because like it's just like a flat surface and they're trying to make it a blimp and that's harder to do, but like why'd they give this guy the nose? Ugh. Also, this guy's the one with glasses. And they're weirdly shaded orange or something. It's just so upsetting. Everything about this character's
he's got like a weird
bothers
visor.
me. Yeah. And also, his entire body is his head. Because the rest of it's just filled with like helium.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. I get having blimps in it because, like, I don't know, you have all the other vehicles to throw a blimp in there, but man, this one's just upsetting.
So very upsetting. Oh boy. So, weird thing about the IMDb page that really bothers me is that they felt the need to put voice beside each one of these credits. As if there were any live action appearances.
I mean, I think that's just what they do for voice actors. They just do it across the board.
I mean, if it's an animated film, why would you do that?
I don't know. People who don't know anything about the film, they may, I don't know, they may get upset if they see Colin Cowherd and they're like, oh, my favorite sportscaster his face is going to be in this movie, and then they're like, that's just his voice as a blimp who's horrifying.
Okay, let's draw this back. Let's talk about your predictions. You made a few.
I did.
I think you had 6.
I had like 10. Thanks.
I mean, I demanded that you write more down when you had 6 and wanted to start. I just didn't know if you had like actually gotten 4 more.
Listen, man, I wanted to watch planes. Okay, predictions. My first prediction was there was going to be a Lightning McQueen cameo somewhere in it. And if there was, we sure didn't catch it, but I think we looked up and there is one somewhere in it on like a newspaper or something.
I think it's in the second one.
Yeah, you're absolutely... Yeah, that's what we found out. So, wrong. Second one was crop duster technique helps win race. Which, as we've discussed... Nope. It should have actively hindered him, but it didn't.
It did, but it didn't. Yeah. It was, you have crop dusting tool, the sprayer, it hinders you, but like it also doesn't, and then it gets removed, so it really doesn't.
Yeah. The third prediction was there's going to be a grumpy mentor who comes to love him, which that one was maybe...
Oh boy, was that just so spot on.
Yeah, and I feel like that one was maybe shooting fish in a barrel, because like, I don't know. That's what happens in these movies. Is there's a grumpy mentor who's like, I won't train you, and then he's like, train me, please, and he's like, okay, you're like a son.
Yeah, but also that crop duster technique comes in and saves him, and like is why he wins. That's also in all of these movies. Like that's the basis of it.
Yeah,
like you learn technique, and then that technique pays off by the end. No, it didn't. This movie just ignored a. Like, is it Chekhov's gun?
Chekhov's gun, yeah.
Like, there was nothing to it. Like, there was nothing to him being a crop duster that actually helped him. Like, you could say that the one scene where, like, he's flying low to the ground, that helped. Like, that does almost nothing. That's very insignificant because he ends up getting penalized and, like, loses that... It's so dumb.
And that's on one leg of, like, I don't know, I think a 12-leg worldwide race. So he should have done well on that one, but been massively behind on the rest of them.
Yeah. It's just so frustrating that him being a crop duster was never a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking, like, going against prejudices. Like a good message in a lot of movies is that like people will tell you can't do something, and then you use something that is special about your difference, and you use it to your advantage, and that's how you overcome expectations and you surprise people. It's about accepting who you are and making people realize that who you are is different, but that can be a good thing too. And this movie just didn't do that.
Yeah,
It was just completely ignorant to its own messages.
and they were even like,
You can go defying expectations even, and you can go like, oh, he worked to overcome this thing, but they didn't do those things either.
he just
This movie's so bad. You know what? You're right. This movie's really bad.
yeah, and like he actively
Just from basic storytelling perspective.
and like he actively changed who he was. Like he cut off what made him a crop duster to do better,
Yep.
which is like a really bad thing.
Really bad message.
Yeah, that if your metaphor, yeah, yep, you guys get why it's bad. Speaking of,
Yeah.
my fourth prediction, if you want to talk about shooting fish in a barrel, was just it is bad. Which, yeah, nailed that one.
Yeah. It's bad.
Number
The
5 here.
storytelling, it was clearly like a rush job because they made Planes and Planes 2. They released within a it was 2013 and then 2014. Also,
And
I spoiled the plot of Planes 2. Do you mind if I spoil it for you?
sure.
Just the premise. The premise. of
Okay.
it.
They
So,
fire
like, at
and
the beginning
rescue.
of the movie, apparently Dusty finds out that he's got like an injured engine, so he just becomes a firefighter. That's the motivation for that. He stops racing because his engine's bad.
Huh.
So like that's dumb.
There are cars in Cars 2 whose engines get literally exploded.
And then they just
And-
have them fixed.
Yeah, and then
And
they
they
just
still
keep
race.
racing.
But in Planes 2, I guess planes engines are less replaceable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into that in about 5 episodes, I'm sure.
Once
Yeah.
once we both, for the first time, watch Planes 2, Fire and Rescue.
Yeah.
All right. So number 5 was it was bad.
Number 4 was it was bad. Come on. Keep up.
Oh. Number 4.
Number 5 was there will be helicopter characters, which like there was a helicopter in it, but there wasn't like I'm sure he had a name. There wasn't a character who was like important to the plot. So didn't get that one.
Yeah.
Intense
There
look
weren't any helicopters trying to race.
which that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I'm getting off track. Number 6 here is we'll get a look into Sky Society, or the Sky Society, if you will, which I'd say we did get.
Okay, so
It's-
like a lot.
It's pretty
of the
much
time,
just cars, but
yeah. You've mentioned many times Sky Society, and like the more you would mention it, the more I got my like thoughts. I was thinking, okay, so Lucas thinks that these are like completely separate societies, and that like there are the planes and they live in their own place, and there are the cars and they live in their own place, and they're separate. But they're very much not. Like in Cars, you don't see like any planes. In the first one, that is. Like there aren't any planes or helicopters or flying vehicles that just live in the town and talk to people. But in Planes, there are just a ton of cars and planes like living together.
yeah, and it's not like in Cars 3, which was after Planes, they were like, oh, let's start integrating more planes and other vehicles into like towns and like crowds and stuff. No, like crowds and audiences in Cars are always exclusively cars. And like there are planes and blimps and stuff in Cars. They're just like very clearly special characters who like show up for 2 seconds to be like, oh, look, a blimp.
Yeah. It really feels like the Marvel cinematic universe versus Netflix shows, because the Netflix shows will constantly reference the movies and the overarching world and all this jazz. But then you'll get to the movies and they won't even talk about it. It's like, why? What? Those things? What? What are you talking about? Those don't exist. And it's like planes in the Cars movies just don't exist. When in the final race, there were just so many cars there in that audience for this planes race.
Yeah, it was like fully integrated. Like, whereas in Cars, it feels segregated, which, but yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. Actually, is the Netflix versus movies MCU. It's just kind of weird because
Yeah.
yeah, it like Sky Society is non-existent. They just live with the cars and planes. That's it, which is weird.
Yep. But the planes don't live with the cars in Cars.
Yeah, no planes in Radiator Springs.
And
Ooh,
also,
E.
his best friends, his two best friends, like for sure, they're just not planes.
Yeah, cars.
Is it like? Do you think they're referencing the fact that there are just a lot more cars than there are planes?
I mean, that could be part of it.
That might be what it is.
Which, like, even in the audiences for like the plane races, there were more cars there than planes, I'd say, or at least an equal amount.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably like 4 cars to every plane.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Which could be part of it, but like, I don't know. Clearly, there are a bunch of planes that should be in cars but are not, and that's weird.
And no boats come to these races, and that's rude.
Yeah, where do they get off?
The dock.
Oh, okay. Number 7 is I predicted there would be no love interest, which I still maintain that Ashani was a love interest, even if they did not in any way get together. He was interested in her romantically, clearly. Number 8 was there would be
also,
no real.
Just real quick, even if you don't count Ishani, you could count Rochelle for the other character.
Oh,
there was at
El
least
Chup.
that love interest. Yep. A terrible nickname. El Chup.
Yeah. Our luchador friend was named El Chupacabra, and they called him El Chup the whole movie, which just makes my ears... I don't know. It sounds bad in my ears. I don't like hearing it or saying it.
Also, someone made a joke about like sucking, like cars, little cars. So like,
oh, since he's the goat sucker, yeah,
Yep.
They certainly did.
Yep. Okay, so that was weird. That was real weird. All right, number 8.
Number 8 was that there would be no explanation of the crops he dusted.
Boy, howdy, were you right?
They just he has crops and he dusts them.
He
like
dusts them.
They
with
mention
just foul-smelling something.
Yeah, I want to say they called it compost, which sounds right to me, but like, and they do. I will give them this. They do like a throwaway line towards the beginning where they're like, "Oh, corn biofuel's the best."
Yeah, but that was when he was fueling him because his friend is a tanker.
Yeah, so like, I don't think all those crops were being made into fuel.
Yeah.
There are lots of crops, and we don't know what they do with them. They probably eat them, because we've established that there is food, but I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah.
This whole movie's weird. These are weird movies, and that's why we do podcasts about them, but it still upsets me.
It's very upsetting and very, very strange and very bad.
I would...
All right, number 9?
Yes. The sidekick character would be a car, which I was right. Our Mater analog.
Lucas, he is actually a truck, which is not a car.
Yes, it is. Our character who is basically Mater. Gosh, I can't even remember his name.
Chug.
Chug, thank you.
Yeah,
Chug was very stupid.
A tanker.
No, I got it.
He's got, because he makes you chug. He's so stupid. He's so stupid.
He's a very dumb little car. Lovable little dumb car.
Who can't remember anything for some reason.
He's got an arm. He has an arm.
So Dottie.
He's a car with an arm.
Dottie Forklift.
Yes.
Dottie Forklift Girl. She used her forklift hands a lot. And it was very upsetting. It was so very upsetting.
She was very talented with them.
And like she just had a
Like she had
wrench that
very
was
precise
just
control.
like on the metal that she could easily like it just bent, and it was far more that happens in any of the Cars movies other than these. Like in Cars 1, 2, and 3, they don't really bend nearly that much, and it's very upsetting watching it bend in this movie. Those hands, man, they really freak me out.
Yeah, it was weird. Our last one was just that plane racing is stupid and nonsensical, which honestly, I'm going to give myself that one. It was weird and hard to follow.
It was so dumb. They were just like, for the most part, most of the practicing was just like turning or going up and down. When the majority of the race was just a straight line. It was so dumb.
Yeah, and like they placed this huge importance on agility towards the beginning with like these obstacle courses they had to go through, and that's why they sort of gave Dusty like a bit of an edge, because like they were like, oh, he's good at going, he's like decent at doing this kind of stuff.
But it wasn't important.
But then they just fly in a straight line. They just fly in a straight line the whole time.
There were the few times where they didn't, like when he didn't listen to his mentor and almost got killed because he's afraid of heights, and almost got hit by train number 4 in this universe.
That is true. We've added a train. It almost murders our protagonist.
Yep. Also, the scenery. We saw a train mountain, and that, man, train deities. I'm really feeling it.
Oh yeah, that was either carved in reverence to them, or maybe they just made it in reverence of themselves, because they can do that.
All right. Time for a very not fun fact, just because like I realized that the best time to mention this would have been when I mentioned the fun fact and also Franz, and that is that pretty much most engineers that there are several reasons we don't have flying cars. Those reasons are safety, expense, noise, legal issues. All of those just like are much too big obstacles to like actually justify it for now. Eventually we're going to get better electric motors and everything's going to be improving in a way that might allow for it, but realistically even then we're going to have to work on like, what are you going to do? You're going to get a pilot's license rather than a driver's license, and on top of all of that, just the expense is so much. Having a vehicle that can fly, that's also safe. Imagine if you crash. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to die. You can't make it out of steel. That's ridiculous. Make it out of like aircraft grade aluminum? Sure, but like even still, very little protection.
I will say that one was, while being very not fun, I will admit it was a different kind of not fun. It was, as opposed to just being
less tragic.
Yeah, not like tragic, just like very pessimistic, almost.
Yeah.
Like I'm not denying that those things are real issues. It just felt like, oh, well, no flying cars, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, like flying cars could have theoretically happened 20 years ago, but they're not going to, because it's too ridiculously expensive, and the technology to make it safe and affordable and not insanely noisy and pilotable, all of those things were not there for another probably 40 years, and that's like if we can actually justify it. Like we could make them now, but it's not likely. But also, I wanted to go for something that's just not fun, because like the other ones I get really uncomfortable with because they're just so tragic, and I don't know how to handle that, and I feel like my tone doesn't convey that I'm really bothered by it, and like it might seem like that I'm doing that thing where like I'm watching a horror film and I start like getting like giddy because that's how I cope with fear sometimes. And I just I want to go for something that's just not fun.
Well, you've achieved it.
Nice.
John, what I want to do is I want to do a bit of semi-rapid fire.
Semi-rapid fire.
Yes. I took several notes during the movie of things that bothered me. I want to present them, have a short little discussion about them, and get a bunch done right now. How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's time for a question from Liz. Just before we do that.
Oh, shoot. We
All
juked
right,
you.
question from Liz. Are there inter-vehicle relationships? Like a plane. Does plane sex car? Does car sex boat? Does submarine sex blimp?
Ooh.
What do we think?
We certainly don't see any, you know?
We don't even hear about any.
Yeah.
We hear about like flirtations, we hear about birth for planes, but we don't hear anything about like I don't even think dating in regards to vehicles that are different from each other. Like a blimp and a motorcycle, which I haven't ever seen a motorcycle.
And like I don't even think there's an instance of interest, you know? Or even attraction, even like, oh, that's a pretty whatever.
No. All of this is false.
Oh no.
We have heard of attraction specifically. We haven't heard about like sex or anything. But we've heard specifically one of the like forklift people at the airport say something along the lines of he just had too much baggage. And I'm pretty sure she was talking about a plane.
She could have been talking about like one of those baggage transporters, though, which is what I got from the joke.
Yeah, she could have been.
I think that was.
But dang, let us know what you think. Email, comment, like, subscribe, all those things. Do you think they were talking about a plane? Because I'd like to think so. All right. So where do we stand on this? Inter-vehicle relationships. Do you think it could happen?
I think romance certainly, definitely possible. You know,
romance is possible with any consenting adults.
Yes, of course. I'm not sure how, and like obviously reproduction and sex do not have to be a part of a relationship, but I don't think.
But we're talking about specifically sex right now. We're not talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about can they be in love. We're talking about do they fuck?
And if we're going by headlights are used for sexing,
here's the thing.
I mean, they could, I guess.
Headlights are used for sexing.
We've had so many ways they sex.
For cars. Also, honkers.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about honkers. But,
we do. Oh, gosh, there's so much in this movie.
Alright, so before we talk about honkers, when two cars check out to other cars, the lady cars get checked out, which, okay, come on, planes. Let the men planes be checked out too. So they check out the flaps on the wings and the propeller at the back of one of the planes. So like back implies butt. So like that propeller was her butt.
Yes.
And those flaps maybe were the back of the wings, so maybe those were the other plane's butt. So
maybe
like,
could be her hips too.
Maybe hips because they were like flipping, like sashaying. So I can get that. But then Dusty is like definitely castrated when he talks about like, this is reversible, right? I don't want to lose it because he's like, man, he's so squeamish about losing his, and it's called this sprayer.
No. I'm back. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose his sprayer.
So he wants to be more aerodynamic. So like any good swimmer would do in the Olympics, they get rid of that. That's what they do in the Olympics, right? Like Michael Phelps, he had it removed.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And I want to fully establish right now that this isn't one of our things where we're like, what if like cars' headlights were their boobs or their vaginas?
Okay.
This is like fully implied by the movie. Like we're not reaching whatsoever. Him having that operation was something to do with his.
You're saying this, and you're saying, "Oh, headlights are their boobs," is like our joke, but like those girls flash Lightning McQueen. That's like,
yes,
we could say that's reaching.
Yeah,
but then honkers. It's a Hooters parallel, and honkers. guess what the honkers are? Not the horn. It's definitely the headlights because that's what was on the sign.
Yeah, the neon sign had the headlights flash on and off as if like, this is what you're here for, boys.
Oh yeah, those nice honkers. So like even the thing that we were like, oh yeah, what if those are the Gahungas? I mean, those are pretty like for sure the Gahungas.
Yeah, they're the Gahungas. I would say almost even more explicitly, even more explicit than that, was that Dusty's operation had something to do with his balls, his dick and balls.
Because like the parallel between a man who's squeamish about getting something removed because it's like his pride and joy, and also this is reversible, right? You know, like a vasectomy because they are very reversible. Like, come on.
And like those, you could even argue like, oh, he just doesn't want to have a body part chopped off. But then they do it, and he comes out, and his voice is noticeably lower.
Okay, but he was definitely putting it on because like after a few seconds his voice stops being lower and he's not like doing the machismo thing. Definitely
Yes.
the implication is he's acting more manly because he's afraid he is for some reason less manly. Which,
Yes.
come on. Come on, movie. Do you have to fail at every social... Come on. Stigmas.
Well, we're talking about that. Do you want to get into Hinduism in the Cars world, John?
About how there's a way to confirm one of their beliefs and they just don't confirm it.
Yeah.
So Hinduism in the Cars world is referenced in the fact that Ashani says, well, okay, so Dusty asks, what's up with all these tractors? Tractors being cows. And then she says, they're sacred. Meaning, like, referencing how cows are viewed as close to divine in our world by that faith. So that's all like, oh, nice little reference. But then she says that they believe that they will be recycled after death into being a tractor, and recycling is a thing you can like watch happen. That's a real physical tangible thing. They can just confirm that part of their faith. They can just know that it's true. And they don't for some reason.
And even, like, I don't know, if I was making this movie about what if cars were people, I'm not sure I would have included, any implication on what that would mean for any religion, let alone
Catholicism and Hinduism.
Yeah, because I don't know that it's insensitive to say, like, to compare their belief of rebirth to recycling, or compare their sacred animal of the cow to tractors, but I certainly don't know that it wasn't insensitive,
I haven't thought about how that's probably insensitive, just comparing the cows to tractors in regards to that religion. But yeah, that's probably no bueno. It's like if they had a depiction of Car Muhammad. That would be terrible.
Oof. Ooh, yeah, it's on a lot of levels. Oh gosh.
It unsettles you, right? Like, what if they thought that was a thing that they could do? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, and like, obviously, John and I don't know what we're talking about when it comes to Hinduism, but it certainly didn't feel like the creators of this movie did either,
Yeah. Oh boy. Man, this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Was this the rapid fire?
Sure. We can, yeah. They're steroids. They're steroids, John.
They're steroids. 100% steroids. Like, sure, it's fuel, but that's steroids. It's steroids. For sure.
Yeah.
Someone gets kicked out of the running because steroid use. All right. Next thing.
The Statue of Liberty is a forklift, and like, I know it couldn't have been the normal Statue of Liberty, but man, it was real jarring to see a forklift be a Statue of Liberty, huh?
Yeah, but also, like, why wouldn't it be a car? Like, it's based on cars. It's a forklift, not a car. Why? Why would you do that? Come on. Come on.
So yeah.
Also, why are there so many forklifts? There are so many forklifts. I get it. It's because the hands. But come on, stop using them forever. Okay, I got a rapid fire one. So there were a bunch of forklifts that just played guitar, and like you could just watch them play guitar. That's really weird.
They're also, so Love versatile. Machine. Yeah, they say there was a musical number in which El Chupacabra sang Love Machine, but he did 2 different versions of it because he did one.
And one of them was good, I guess. And it was the one with a bunch of steel guitars. But like, it was. There's a reason that was a question. All right, what's your next rapid fire thing?
Next rapid fire was rockets are confirmed. There was one bit that the guy said, "Oh man, even the Saturn rocket couldn't catch you," which I think implies that the Saturn rocket A exists, obviously. B is a person. So
but
we've
does
got
it
some more
that?
material for our.
I feel like it implies the opposite.
It's gotta.
They didn't call him Saturn. They didn't call him some other name. They called him the Saturn rocket.
But why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he be a person?
Why would you refer to a person as the Saturn rocket?
I mean, they called Doc the Hudson Hornet. Maybe it's a thing.
I mean, sure, but it's a little on the nose.
Like the type of car he is.
It's a little on the nose, though.
Yeah.
What his name was just like Saturninus. That'd be weird.
That'd be.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not sure many people will get that reference. Let's see. There was a car who had hair, and like I don't think we can talk about that much more than just saying that. But there was a car who had hair. It was the bartender.
Oh,
she had pigtails.
But it may have been a wig, because it seemed to be like one of those good old-fashioned costumes.
Yeah, but they have the concept of hair, and that's that on its own.
I mean, we've seen the concept of hair before, I'm sure. I mean, even like Dracula Mater definitely had Dracula hair.
Yeah, okay. But it's just another example of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a boat called the Dwight Eisenhower, and again, we can't talk about that much more than that, other than Dwight Eisenhower exists in this universe.
No, Dwight Eisenhower.
And is a plane, I would say.
Dwight Eisenhower. A boat named Eisenhower because he's Navy, but also has a ton of planes on and a bunch of forklifts inside of him, which, oh, come on. All right.
See, I think he was a boat named after the president, Dwight Eisenhower, who was a plane, like they do.
Come on, we're not gonna, we're not gonna elect a plane. Come on.
In this economy, I have under that boat has big hat. He did wear a big hat, and that was just very. He had like an admiral's hat, and that was very strange to me.
Look, Lucas, not while this country's politics are all up in the air.
Okay.
It was you get it. All right, so back to Eisenhower. His eyes were like hundreds of feet away from his mouth, and that just really bothers me.
Yeah, he was an aircraft carrier. His eyes were where like his command center was, and his mouth was on the front of his boat, and that was just a very jarring character design, much like our friend the Blimp.
Yep. Yep. Very, very upsetting, both of them.
Last one I've got that I want to mention is Skipper, like, kind of stole Valor a little bit. Would you agree with that statement?
I don't think I would, because stealing Valor, like, you gotta... It's pretending that you have done things you have not, and, like, all that jazz, but I don't think he ever says that he, like... specifically went on those missions. He mentions missions, and he mentions like his boys, and other people make a lot of assumptions and say he did things, and that he doesn't tell them they're wrong, which is definitely like vaguely Valor steely.
Yeah,
but like also
that's why I did the sorta.
Yeah,
it's not direct.
It's definitely not direct.
But it's not.
But like
morally sound.
It's definitely a bad thing that he's not correcting people. And also, like, he's real hung up about it, and he doesn't want to talk about it, and I get that, but also, like, don't go along with it the way you did. especially if
Yeah.
you fly for truth. Come on, man.
Hey, John, we've been talking for
Which
an hour.
what does that mean?
Fly for truth? I couldn't tell you. I could not even begin to tell you. We've been talking for an hour, and we haven't mentioned the scene in which we watched several planes get blown out of the sky.
Yep.
I think we should
Yep.
probably rectify that one, huh?
So so we knew that there was a war scene in these movies.
Yes.
We couldn't really remember what it was or remember it. And I kind of had it in my head, the idea of like, oh yeah, it's probably just like this thing where you see some gunfire, you see like planes and boats and whatnot, and you see some like cars maybe, and like then you see the character that you're following the memory of, and like you see flashes and you see smoke everywhere, and like, oh, he can't really see, and oh no, it's tragic, and you don't really see all that much because it's a kids movie. But no,
No.
dudes get shot to death and explode in front of you.
It's really intense.
Like
And
you
only
get to hear him talk to some of his men that he has trained, and then you watch all of them die. You watch them all get like just brutally killed.
a full squadron that has been established as rookies.
All rookies. And he didn't even want to like go and do this like thing that they wanted. He didn't even agree to actually do what they wanted. They wanted to have a quick flyby and like take out a boat that they had seen. But he said no. And then they convinced him, and he's like, okay, we're still not gonna just go do that. We're gonna do closer reconnaissance. And they all die because he made a calculated risk of, we're just gonna get a little bit closer, and a little bit closer got them entrenched in just what I can only describe as bullet hell.
Yeah, like it was a massacre.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, it was. I don't know why they chose to do that. You know.
You mentioned like afterwards that there's like in a lot of film, like in adult war film, you'll see planes get shot out of the sky, and like it's really jarring. It's sad. But there's still that degree of separation of, oh, you saw a plane explode, you didn't see a body explode. But in this kid's film,
Yeah.
that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You watch bodies be riddled with bullets and explode. And that's just, you just watch so many of these young men and women, probably just men, it was World War II, like, also, yeah, World War II. So, like, that's, yeah, man.
Which, like, we've said before, based on this scene, like we knew about this scene and we're like, yep, World War II exists. That's something we have to talk about at some point.
Yep.
And man, we still have to talk about it, huh?
Yeah. So,
because like it was, he's a plane made in the 1940s. Everything looked the right era, and it looked like the Pacific Theater of World War II. Like that was clearly the implication. It was the Pacific Theater of World War II.
Which also means that he was.
So that's something.
He was. I think it was. He started the manufacturing of his sort of vehicle in 42.
That sounds
meaning
right.
He was like at most 2 years old when this happened.
Yeah.
And then because of this tragedy and watching all of his trainees die at the age of 2. He lost the ability to fly, and as a result, man. I think also the ability to walk because of his PTSD.
And
he had to be
this
carted
movie
around.
takes place in 2013.
Yeah. He had to be carted around after this tragedy for, what's the math on that? Like
about 60 years.
60
about
years.
70 years, actually. 70.
Yeah, but 60 years when he had only been alive to that point for 2.
And then he meets Dusty and he flies again. So that's something.
He lived 35 times the length of his life before that accident, after that accident. Incapable of walking. He was carted around by his nice, nerdy friend who I thought was really young, but turns out is just as old as he is. which aging does not make sense in these movies at all. I don't get it.
Yeah, and if we're implying that we implied that trauma affects aging and dying, but he was also shot down. He just survived.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Dusty nearly drowned, was in like a typhoon and just got destroyed and all of his parts replaced. And then he's not out of racing from all of that, but in the next movie his engine's bad. Man, this is inconsistent. Man, these movies are bad.
yeah, it's almost like these two didn't have the same level of care and love as even like Cars had put into them. Which, like, I'll say, Cars definitely
As
has
even-
love put into them. But
As even Cars 2 had put in it.
yeah,
And
Cars 2,
2 was just a hot mess.
yeah, at least it's like a little bit self-consistent with the rest of it. Like, the events of Cars 2 are never mentioned again, but like they make some tiny amount of sense within the universe.
Yeah. And in this movie, oh boy, this movie.
Yeah. I think we should go ahead, wrap this one up. Final thoughts, and let's both do a rating for it out of 10. What do you think?
All right. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
I was thinking 3. So that should tell you something.
Yeah, it's just like one for me means that it's like actively painful to watch and I cannot enjoy it at all. 5 is a movie that like I don't want to see, but like having seen I don't regret.
Yeah.
Like Planes, having seen it twice, if it weren't for this podcast, definite regrets.
Yeah. And like if I remember right, I gave Cars 2 like a 6 or a 7. So that'll show you how much I disliked this movie more than Cars 2. It was not a good experience, but I hope you had a good experience listening to us two yahoos talk about it.
If nothing else, you can just commiserate with us.
Yeah, watch it.
Misery loves company.
You can
All
watch
right,
it and then
so-
get mad about it like we did.
Those are our ratings. Final thoughts. This movie, the more you think about it, the worse it is. Franz was the highlight of this film.
Clearly.
Beautiful. Love Franz. I don't really have much more to say on final thoughts wise.
Yeah, only thing I'll add, there were some enjoyable moments. Like, obviously, there were some funny bits. There were some characters who I cared about a little bit. But overall, not good.
Yeah.
Don't watch it. Or watch it.
Don't watch
I'm not your mom.
it. Don't watch it. I guess I am your mom. Don't watch it. All right. So those are our final thoughts. Do we have anything else to do? Corrections. We had a correction. I forgot what it
We
was.
certainly did.
Dang.
Guess we're just perfect for now.
Yep.
But if you liked this, why don't you give us a rating or a review or like it or comment on it or subscribe? There are lots of different things you can do depending on the service you're on, but do one of them. That'd be cool.
Please tell people that you think might have any amount of interest in this. Please tell them about us. Please point them in our direction. Please have them listen. Don't like make anyone listen who's not going to like it at all. But like, please just get some of your friends, tell them about us, see if they have any interest, see if you can help us spread the good message about cars and planes and trains
And automobiles. You can follow us on stuff. We're on Twitter at the Kachat. We have an email, thekachat@gmail.com. And is that everything? Sounds like everything.
Seems like it. All right. And
Okay.
until next time,
Anyway, I was Lucas.
I was John. Remember to float like a Cadillac.
And sting like a beamer.